So in all this internet era, we all fear to being lonely, but truth be told, is one of the biggest unfair advantage that we actually have on this century, right? So let me ask, Francesco, why being lonely is actually good thing, right? Right? I just wanna stay with my friends or this and that. And truth be told, I actually love to stay around people to actually cooperate wherever it is, right? Like it's generally good for you to do things with others and actually cooperate and not being a zero sum. And and the protocol that I'm gonna just talk about today is not even about something extremely difficult or this and that, because it all comes to understand what actually this protocol is, right? It's a protocol, it's a tool, it's something that we use and needed for that, right? It's the same thing as using a fork when we're trying to eat, right? It's a tool. That's it. It's not even something it's too fancy, magical. That's it, right? And why actually I use it for so long time, for 6 to 7 months, is actually for just one thing and one thing only, which is right, becoming good at what I do, what we do, and then we see the result after a month, right? You know, what actually can you achieve over the period of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or even 4 months, right? You need actually to focus on what you're doing, not just. And the biggest mistake people do is that thinking that they actually need to be lonely forever, right? That's not actually true, because at the same time, as I would tell you before, this is actually a protocol, it's a tool, something that we use in that specific need. And a lot of people would be like, no, Francesco, I fucking hate to be lonely. And it all comes to all the culture traits, and it's actually true. And truth be told, I'm not saying you cannot cooperate or doing something others with others, but you have to actually going through a big internal work that it could last a month, right? So right now that we know what actually is the lonely chapter and why we use it, define what actually success look like. Because if you don't have a real compass, right, what you're doing or where you want to go, I mean, there's no degree of when you are kind of achieving, right? It's like 10%, 80%, like 1%, right? So the simple ways to do it is actually define what success look like. So what are three things that will make that period great, right? That's the simple way that I can describe it, right? And what are the values that you're gonna apply to yourself? What are the principles that you are gonna apply to yourself? And truth be told, it doesn't have to be so rigid, so detailed, precise. It could be even like, I don't know, like getting up a specific time, or training like every single day. But you have to keep your word. That's it. And at the same time, if you define what actually it's look like, you have to understand what failure looks like, right? The ancient Romans and the Greeks were defining this as the pre-mortem, right? Also the architects do this before planning what they're doing and this and that, in order to understand what actually failure looks like, what don't we want, right? So it could be for you, failure look like being totally lonely and in this week, and not doing anything with someone else, right? It's a bit of a paradox, but even if you're going to out with friends or whatever, like in even 1 a week, 1 day a week, it's not even that problem, right? But you have to understand that you're going to get good at what you do, right? And no one will actually tells you and gifting you what you're trying to achieve. So that's it. Also the failures, what actually failures look like, right? So also in the principles, when it comes to this, understand what is actually wrong with you if you actually think that failure looks like. And Francesco, you talk about this or that, but what actually were your experience, right? Because at the end of the it took me 6 to 7 months actually to actually be good at with my agency, be good with my communication and persuasion skills, right? It's not something that anyone gave to me, right? I didn't have, you know, real guidances for a long time, right? I have to understand a lot of things by myself, investing, you know, a lot of myself, and simply, you know, it takes time, right? It just takes time, and you know, as I told, it's just a protocol.